dance for joy or lust.
Welcome to Sensible Secondhand Reviews, the series where we look at mainly practical and sensible cars that you can buy between a budget of between £1,000 and £5,000. Sometimes we go for things that are not always that sensible. This is a 2013 Volkswagen Scirocco 2.0 TSI GT DSG. But is it any good? Should you care? Let's find out, shall we? So the Mark III Scirocco was launched in 2008. It continued in production for about 10 years. I think the last ones were built in 2017, but some were registered in this country in 2018. It was very heavily based on the platform of the Mark V or 6 Golf. By the time the Scirocco came out, the Mark VI Golf was actually launched in the same year. And it really didn't have a predecessor in that decade at all. The nearest thing that would have been equivalent to it would have been back in the 1990s with the Corrado. Mark II Scirocco itself had been discontinued long before, I think in 1992. The engines available were very familiar Volkswagen Group units, of course, used in all sorts of other cars, Seats, Skodas, Audis, and other Volkswagen, of course. The range started off with a 1.4 litre TSI known as the twin charger engine. That did about 158 horsepower. And then it was accompanied by a 2 litre TSI engine with 197 horsepower. In 2009, that 197 was replaced with a 207, which is the engine in this one. In 2010, there was a 120 horsepower version of a 1.4 engine launched without the supercharger. The other engines available were all 2 litre units. There was a more powerful engine with 217 horsepower. That was first exclusive to the GTS model Scirocco, but then in 2014, the facelift, it was fitted to all the 2 litre cars that weren't of R specification. And then the R itself developed 261 horsepower, so similar to the Golf R really. In 2014, when all the kind of standard 2 litres became 217, a detuned version of an engine was available with 177 horsepower, which replaced the 158 brake horsepower 1.4 twin charger. But it had proven a little bit problematic. I don't think I'd recommend that engine, to be honest. Also at the same time, the 120 horsepower version of the 1.4 was upgraded to 123 horsepower. You can either get a 6-speed manual or a 6 or 7-speed DSG gearbox. This is a DSG with a 6-speed. With the 1.4, I think you can get a 7-speed actually, which is unusual really to have a lower powered engine with more speeds on the automatic transmission, but there we go. There are also some diesels available, but as usual, due to controversial government legislation and all kinds of other reasons, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. What we do talk about is the dynamic chassis control on this car, which is currently in sport mode. Let me put that in comfort mode and see if that makes a bit of a difference to this rather firm ride. Yes, it does actually. Considering we're driving around on the outskirts of Epsom today, it is actually better to have it in the comfort mode because the roads around here, like in a lot of other places in the world, are not particularly good. I think I'd prefer to leave it in the comfort mode. You can turn it off like I'll do now. Yeah, I just turned it off entirely, which is sort of a neutral setting. I don't know if this is available on all models or if it's just exclusive to the GT, which is this particular car. One thing I'm really aware of is how much power and torque is available under my right foot. 0 to 60 takes under 7 seconds in this car, and you can feel it. Absolutely, you can feel it. Steering is actually quite nicely weighted. It's probably an electronic system, I'm not entirely sure, but it does feel very well weighted. I wish, you know, we were able to get onto some slightly faster roads to sort of test it better, but I have had it up, did around some roundabouts, and that felt fine. It's very, very comfortable, very quiet. It doesn't feel like an absolute monster. I think this engine was actually used in the Mark 6 Golf GTI as well. So it does have plenty of power, there's no doubt about it. Chassis feels actually very good. It feels so much more memorable than the Mark 6 Golf I drove on the channel in 2021 with 1.4 TSI engine. So much more memorable. I don't know why, it's similar ingredients, but they're just being given a bit more sort of panache. Certainly the styling of this car is really nice. We'll have a look at the rather nicely cut interior a little bit later on. Well, viewers, here we are back at Horton Country Park near Epsom, where the channel first started all the way back in 2018, to have a look around this Mark III Scirocco. This is a pre-facelift car. It's a very late pre-facelift car, actually. The facelift occurred in the early summer of 2014, and this is a late 2013 car, so it's one of the sort of final pre-facelift cars. Some people say that they prefer the look of the pre-facelift ones. Some people prefer the look of the post-facelift ones. I think maybe I prefer the look of the post-facelift ones, simply because with this, I've noticed when I've actually been driving this, that when you come up behind somebody and the daytime running lights are on, it doesn't have LED daytime running lights, which by 2013 was probably starting to look a little bit old-fashioned for a sort of sporty car like this. I think the design of the Scirocco, it's based on the Mark 5/6 Golf platform, which is exactly the same, is actually very nice. We did a very nice job with this car. White is a very popular colour, I think, for these, but I'm not sure that the biscuit leather interior is the most popular option. I actually quite like this. I prefer a beige leather interior, as most of you know, but I quite like the way it's sort of contrasting from the rest of it. Otherwise it would just be all black, and that would probably be just a bit too overpowering for me. Come on, autofocus, don't be silly. Anyway, it's in lovely condition, this car. Superb condition. 18-inch alloy wheels on this GT model. And as I said, it's got some nice projector headlamps, but no LEDs or anything at the front as far as I'm aware. Fog lights, big kind of lower grille. It's nothing like the kind of Mark 1 and Mark II Scirocco, but it doesn't really look anything like those. But of course, the Mark II Scirocco went out of production in 1992, and this came in 2008, so that's not a real surprise. Got parking sensors on this. I'd say that's an absolute necessity, really. I really found that I can't see anything at all at the back of this car. Let's pop the boot. Let's use this key fob here to do that. There we go. Actually, that looks like the best way to do it. So massive lip, like huge lip. I think in some ways you'd have to take this parcel shelf out of here in order to get the best out of actually loading it. Although the space looks very good. That's not too dissimilar from just a normal Mark 6 Golf. I have filmed a Mark 6 Golf on the channel a long time ago. I think it's in 2021 actually I did that. And it does seem like, although huge lip, like much bigger than I've ever seen on anything else really. Lift that up, and we've actually got a space saver spare wheel, but it's untouched. Excellent, that's very good. Do we have a boot light in here? Yes, we do. And a 12-volt socket, that's good. And even got a little hook there for carrying shopping bags. So it's quite practical actually, really, this. So we get inside here and marvel at the biscuit leather interior. There we go. Weirdly, this car has kind of semi-manual seats, and the adjustments that you probably make on this most of the time, which are, you know, the rake of the seat and up and down and back and forth, are all operated manually, but there is a little bit of electric adjustment, but I couldn't really work out what that does. Also, I've spotted that this car has exactly the same electric mirror switch as my Mark IV Seat Toledo, which was the very first car that ever appeared in the first video on this channel, in this very spot 5 years ago. That's some unnecessary detail for you viewers. Again, very, very similar interior to a Mark VI Golf. Like, really, really similar. Which is no surprise, as the Mark VI also came out in about 2008 as well. Nice steering wheel. All the sort of buttons are where you'd expect to find them, really. We've got buttons here for volume and the telephone. That's the hands-free that I never use. Sorry, it's not the hands-free, voice dialing. And voice commands and things like that. On the right-hand side, it's for cycling through the little menu just in the middle there. And the black and white screen. That's the back button. The shift pedals actually here. You can see there's down and there is up for the DSG gearbox, which yeah, it's interesting, I suppose. Just trying to work out if this car's actually got cruise control. I don't think it has. That's strange. Wow. Was that an option or something? So yeah, cup holders down here. Quite small cup holders, so actually it looked like. Then the DSG gearbox, I'll maybe talk more about this another time. Then we've got a row of blanking plates kind of here. I'd imagine they're there for some extra features that this car doesn't have, but we do have the dynamic chassis control here. You can either have comfort sport or just turn it off. I prefer the comfort setting, but that's not really any surprise to anybody who watches this channel. So I'll put the key in a second and we'll have a look at some of the instruments in the middle there. But we'll see here that actually centre is a median nav cable there, which seems to sort of work in conjunction with this one here, or something. Weird. But yeah, it's a very small little cubby thing, tiny. This glove box, well, it might fit my second vision. I'll look at that in a second. The sculpting on this door is quite interesting in terms of the handle. That's really, really nice actually. Door pockets are very small. Also notice that there's that's the boot release there if you don't want to use the little key flipper thing that I have. But yeah, automatic lights on this car, presumably automatic wipers, but I wouldn't be entirely sure. Otherwise, it all just looks very familiar. Let's just pause a second here whilst I put the key of ignition. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the things on here. So we can go left and right on the steering wheel to go and have a look at various things. MFD data, what on earth is that? Oh yeah, travel time, current consumption, all those sorts of things, oil temperature. Yeah, so if we go back and we go, I think it's left. No, vehicle status right. Just clear that off. Hold on a second, dears. Okay, that's better. Right, I'll close the door and that seems to have solved the problem. Average consumption 33, range 325. It's actually got a full tank, this car. Distance, since its last reset, average speed 31 miles. It's not been on the fastest roads recently. Travel time 83 hours, and the current consumption, well, was nothing because the engine's off. And then there's the mobile phones thing. We'll just leave that alone. Go back to the settings, see if there's anything else in here. Convenience. Central locker. Can we, oh, we auto lock. No, thank you. Get out of there. Window operation. Oh, right, okay. So you can actually control that. Mirror down. Oh, yeah, that's if you are reversing. And it puts a mirror down on the left-hand side so you can see the curb. I think we'll just go back. That's not that exciting, is it, really? to put that back on there. So we turn this system on here, turn that off. Very similar to so many of the Volkswagen infotainment systems of the time. This would be similar to the Toledo system on a pre-facelift Mark IV Toledos as well, and you know, Skodas and all sorts of things. So if we go nav, we can see where we are. If we go map, it's a touchscreen. This is a very tiny touchscreen. But there we go. Yep, that's where we are. Horden Country Park, which is near Epsom. Traffic. Oh yes, the traffic doesn't really do what you want on sort of Google Maps level at all. It's kind of far more basic than that. But it's there if you want to play with it, and at least the back button is quite handy there. And we can go back to say, like, I don't know, media. If we don't press the radio button, no media available because we've not got the aux in here. It's not plugged in, and the radio should be off. Is it off? Yeah, it's fine. Setup. Is there anything interesting in here, or is it just the same sort of thing? Try program system, I think, is the one that I would want. Yeah, keyboard layout, and you can sort of twiddle this up and down. Aircon displays. So you've got dual zone climate control in this car. If I were to alter, say, the settings on this, then it would come up on the screen to say that I've done it. There we go. That's not that exciting, is it really? I've got them synced. I've turned the air conditioning off because it's not that warm today, actually, surprisingly. And you can see the temperatures on here. Either side is that. Heated seats. And an automatic button for the recirculation. That's interesting. It's to do with pollution. Right, let's have a look at the secret mission documents and whether they fit in the glove box. Okay, viewers, here you go. Do you know, Richard, who owns this car, told me it wouldn't fit in, and we don't. That's no good, is it? Right, I think we're going to have to look at the engine as well now. It's what we do normally, isn't it? Very surprised that this car doesn't come with gas struts on the suspension. The bonnet prop, but you know, never mind. So here is the, I think it's called the EA 888 engine. It's 2 litres, in this case developing 207 horsepower. It's quite packed in here, isn't it? But then it's not really a surprise. You know, covers and all that sort of stuff. Here's the Volkswagen Group coolant reservoir, which dates back to about 800 BC. It's been on everything. Dipstick. Oil filter looks quite easy to change, but you have to get this pipe out of the way to do it. And it's actually an upside down filter, which is unusual. Screen wash is just sort of there, so basic sort of maintenance to it. You have the alternator just down there. So it's not too bad, but it's probably very similar to a Mark 6 Golf, which is really no surprise at all. Right, I know what I'm going to have to do now, viewers. This is for you, Mr. Manning from Matty's Cars channel. We're going to try to get in the back. Something tells me, viewers, I'm not going to enjoy this. Okay, that was quite easy. And we haven't got to sort of follow the seatbelt as well. That's good. Alright, just move that out of the way. It's very, very, very dark in here. Really dark. Oh. My head's right up against the roof, viewers. That's not good. And there's nothing in here apart from a little hole. Yeah, just a 4-seater. Only 2 seats in the back here. Seat belts to this side. I thought it'd be in the middle or something, but you can fob the seats down by pressing this. Gosh, the light is really bad in here. Tiny, tiny little side windows and little hooks there for my jacket if I wanted to. In fact, there's 2 of them. I think I might just turn this light. There we go. It's better, isn't it? Turn this light on. That's a bit better. And we can see there's a sunglasses compartment there as well. So I pull this seat back. Am I going to be crushed in here forever? Yeah, I am. It's not great. I don't like this, viewers. Yeah, let me out. It's not the worst I've ever had. I mean, if I had to do a little journey in here, it would be sort of okay if the driver wasn't very tall, but it's not brilliant, is it? Right, let's get back into that seat and let's go for another drive, shall we? Lloyd Vehicle Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. Right, viewers, found a bit of the 81/7 through the 60 limit, so we'll go a little bit faster. Yeah, lots and lots of power. I'm going to have to stop accelerating there because we're going very fast. Yeah, be very nice on the motor of this. I just can't believe it's got no cruise control. That's really strange. The nearest rival I could think of this car would be something like the Hyundai Veloster that was only briefly sold in this country, and production of that and this did overlap for a few years. I think it was only sold in this country from 2011 to 13. Even the sort of latter years of the Mazda RX-8, both those cars have more doors than this does. May have been actually something that would interest people who want a Scirocco, I don't know. Very different type of car, and I would say, again, one I have driven. I think again in 2021 I drove one of those. But yeah, this is not really a fire-breathing monster. It's a much more sort of Grand Tourer car. It's very, very sort of quiet and comfortable and compliant, really. Depends what you want. Let's have a look now at some trim levels for the Mark III Scirocco. So there was a basic trim level, just something like Scirocco 1.4 TSI. Then was the GT model, the GT Black Edition, the GTS, the R Line Black Edition, and then the R. The boot figure is actually 292 litres. It's not. It is just under 300. 0 to 62 in this particular one, the 207 brake horsepower engine, is about 6.9 seconds, and apparently the official figures say 38 miles per gallon, although it's not quite getting this, probably because this car lives just within the Greater London boundary. That would be why. So, viewers, should you consider a Mark III Volkswagen Scirocco with your hard-earned budget of between £1,000 and £5,000? Well, you've got to make sure this DSG gearbox has been properly serviced. You've got to make sure that engine's been looked after. They offer quite a lot of performance for the money, I think, considering you can buy one of these for under £5,000, be a much earlier car in worse condition than this. But I actually think that there might be a suitable option. It's not the most practical car, but that's really not the point. It's a, car based on a Mark VI Golf. If you want a more practical car, just buy a Mark VI Golf, with which you could get most of the same engines and running gear as this particular car. But I think it drives quite nicely, actually. I like the fact you can control the weight of the suspension, or I should say the firmness of the suspension, if you want to, although I'm not sure how much difference it makes. And I think it does look very stylish, but it's probably not exactly me, but I've enjoyed myself nevertheless. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more reasonably priced motoring.
1, 2, 3, 4. Every blue day.